I'd like to ask you a question. What would you do if you had an employee that came into your place of work every single day and all they did from the time that they got there until the time that they left, and certainly while all of your customers are there, just whispered in their ear all the negative news of the day, talking about how bad the economy is, the price of gasoline, how car companies are failing, all of the bad things that you don't want going through the mind of your customer when they're in your establishment. And then, not only do they do that, they take flyers and posters for all of your competitors and they spend the whole day pasting them up all over your waiting room or your showroom floor. What would you do with that employee? My guess is they'd be gone. They wouldn't even last a half a day. So let me ask you a question. Do you have an employee like that? Well, I submit that you do. And that employee, while they may not be directly on your payroll, they are, in fact, in your establishment and trusted resource every single day of business that you operate. And that is your television set, spouting off the worst news of the day, telling how the economy is awful, talking about how car companies are failing and recalls and all of the worst things that you could have going through the mind of a customer that you hope to have an opportunity to take and upsell. So let me ask you this. If we're going to take that television set and we're going to fire it as an employee, what are we going to do to replace it? Now let me ask you another question. What has emerged in recent years as the most effective tool on the planet for communicating? I would submit to you that it is YouTube and things like that in the social network that were...
Daddy bit me.
This video has gone completely viral and has something on the order of 60 million views. Now, let me ask you this. If this piece of information, this little bit of humor, can go viral so quickly, there must be a reason why it is so compelling for people to watch it. Now, if I have a place of business, I would much rather have my people watching Charlie Bit Me than talking about how the stock market just dropped 800 points when they were getting ready to perhaps write a check for a new vehicle or perhaps do some upgrades on the vehicle. And I can tell you that these viral videos are humorous and uplifting. And they're going to put your clientele in a frame of mind that is going to not negate what you're trying to achieve with them. So let me ask you another question. When was the last time you heard laughter spontaneously erupt in your waiting room or in your guest lounge? My guess is that doesn't happen very often. And if your clientele are in the waiting room watching regular news, cable news, they're probably sitting there with a very dour expression and not really contemplating how they might, engage you in an upsell opportunity. Let me ask you another question. Why do you spend so much money advertising? I mean, it's obvious. You spend money on television, on newsprint, to send information to people out there somewhere, you don't know exactly where, and hopefully you'll connect with them. But did you know that the average person receives over 10,000 advertising impressions a day? So how effective is your advertising dollar? Now, obviously, you have to spend it. It's sort of a publish or perish kind of deal. But what if you knew for a fact that the person you were advertising to was watching the advertisement and was actually in a location where they can be receiving the information and have it conveyed to them in the most effective way, and they're also there with their checkbook or credit card in hand? Why don't you take the opportunity that you have sitting right in front of you, where you have the clientele already crossed your threshold? Why sit them down and let them see your competitors' advertisements Why sit them down and put them in a bad mood with the news of the day or daytime programming? Why not instead take that opportunity to inform them about product offerings that you have, to educate them about things about the products that you have that they may not be aware of? Why don't you take that opportunity to potentially sell them something that they may not even have expected that they were going to buy that day? But you have the opportunity to inform them about that, and that may, in fact, trigger the impulse to buy. So let me ask you one final question. How many more days are you going to let that bad old employee known as your television set, who's been whispering evil things in the ears of your customers for years, how many more days are you going to let that continue to exist in your place of business? Why don't you call LifeSigns today and let us replace what is currently a huge negative with an enormous positive?